Toss It Up.
Yes.
How did that song come about, and take me through the video shoot for that song?
So I think Toss It Up, that song came about when Suge had an opportunity to hear No Diggity, produced by Teddy Riley, I think Blackstreet. And they did this No Diggity. Suge heard the record, and he decided that we were gonna do that as sort of like a diss to Dr. Dre. And we did it on the same track. And somehow or another that didn't fly with maybe Jimmy Iovine. And we had to redo that music over, and that's when Reggie and Demetrius Shipp, a guy by the name of Reggie, not Reggie Wright, another Reginald something, I forgot his name, but Reggie from the East Coast, and Demetrius Shipp from the group Troop. And it's actually the guy who played Tupac's, not Tupac, he played Tupac in the Tupac All Eyes on Me movie. His dad is the one that actually produced the track to Toss It Up. And we decided they decided we were gonna do a video to that. Like I said, Pac didn't like, too much wasn't feeling it. I ain't mad at you. We had shot it, never seen the footage to it. And finally we get a song that we gonna shoot the video to, that they gonna put out as a single. I'm excited, because I've been on hold all this time. We get to this warehouse downtown, everybody's on queue, everybody's waiting. We waiting 4, 5, 6 hours, Pac hasn't shown up to the set. If he doesn't show up in an hour or so, they're gonna scrap the video. I'm pissed off. I'm cussing this Hollywood ass nigga. This nigga make me sick. And here come Pac, walking in the door like he was 20 minutes early. And that's when we had an opportunity to shoot.
So after y'all did a Toss It Up video, y'all went to Vegas for the Tyson fight, right?
As soon as they said cut, it's a wrap, and everybody started clapping, we started getting in our cars, mounting up, and started caravanning to Las Vegas for the fight.
The Tupac Vegas incident, walk me through that entire day, man. Just everything you remember. Just give me the whole backstory about that whole entire day. Like the beginning and the end.
So on our way, we stopped at a gas station, and it was like a high school team that was out there. They started agitating Pac, and agitating us actually, like, you know, saying different things.
What was the location?
That's like in between leaving, we were probably about an hour out of Vegas, 2 hours out of Vegas.
It was like at a burger spot.
Nevada.
Right?
And I don't think it was, somebody said it was a burger spot, I think it was a gas station.
Okay.
But it could have been a burger spot there. Got into it with these young dudes, and that broke up, you know, and we got on the road, driving down there. We drive 100, 200. One of the producers that I had introduced to the row, Damon Thomas, he had a Viper. He had just gotten his Viper. And we was going so fast till we didn't find out until 2, 3 hours after us being in Vegas that his Viper had flipped over, and he had totaled his Viper and broke his hand, all kinds of stuff. So we get there to Vegas, we go check in the hotels, and Suge check in his hotel, and Suge had a house there as well in Vegas. And most of his main guys had rooms, you know what I mean? If you got a room, you got a room. I had a room in the back, by the pool. We all got there, and then we went to our hotel rooms. After going to our hotel rooms, I think we stopped by the hotel where the fight was. And going up the escalator, Pac seen a guy that tried to snatch the chain. And I think that's Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando Anderson.
And before you know it, Pac took off, running towards him. We all went running towards that way. Big fight break out in the hallway. We leave out of the hotel. I went to the club, start partying, walking around, and maybe an hour or two into the party, maybe an hour or so into the party, it hadn't went by long enough where Suge and them should have been there by now. And one of the securities just like ran in the door and said Pac and Suge had been killed on the strip. That's what he said. He said they both had been killed. and I ain't have on any shoes. I ran up to the car. I was in one of Suge's Jeeps, this black Jeep. Ran up there and got in the car. Drove trying to find a place, couldn't find it. And I finally got to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, we weren't allowed to see Pac or Suge. And we're just waiting. It was a waiting process. And by this time, we began to start doing things to secure the whole. Pac had been shot, basically. And we had been doing things to secure the hospital because you had different type of weirdos trying to get in to the hospital to get interviews. And Suge come walking down the hallway. And he had a little wrap on his head. You can see a real small spot on his head, like a little blood on it. But he's acting weird as hell, you ask me. Acting real weird, and he went, Pac was in there, he talked about Pac shot, shit, and he walked out of the hospital, and he told me to go to my hotel room. Don't come to the house. So like the first things he said to me. And I go to the house, I went to the hotel room, and I remember Suge sitting in his room, like probably crying like a baby. Crying like a baby. He didn't necessarily cry about Pac, kept saying something that's fucked up. He cried about that, but the biggest thing that he cried about, because we were drinking, the biggest thing that he started really kind of like crying about is, because he told me to write it, we gonna write a song, we drunk as hell. And he wanted me to write this song about friends not being friends when you need them. And your friends don't want to be around you unless you got something. It was just weird. That's kind of like a crying moment that he had. But from that time on, it kind of spiraled down. You could tell that Pac being shot at really affected him.
So I want to backtrack, man. You said that Tupac seen Orlando and he started running at him. Who pointed out Orlando to Tupac? Because
I think one of the homies did.
Yeah,
one of the homies pointed him out, and Pac took off.
Do you know which one or no?
If I'm not mistaken, it was Trey Lane. If I'm not mistaken.
So if it wasn't for Trayvon Lane pointing him out, Tupac would have never jumped on him because Tupac didn't know how Orlando Anderson looked.
Right, but first off, I think he pointed him out. But I definitely don't think he was pointing him out to get a reaction. But I definitely don't think he pointed him out for Pac to react. I don't believe that either. I think Pac reacted fast and everybody else started reacting behind it.
Yeah, I believe that. I think he probably pointed them out like, yo, that's one of the dudes that, came at me.
You didn't have to touch nobody. That's what trading would make sure all that touching shit was taken care of.
So why you think Tupac did that? Like run at Orlando like that?
I think Pac was just being Pac and doing what everybody else did. Like when it was time, like that wasn't the first time we turned up on somebody. That's like one of them niggas right there. But I just don't think Pac knew how serious that was. Because that became obviously a serious situation. They say Orlando was really, really in the streets. And it's like he wasn't a rapper. Orlando wasn't a rapper.
Bulletproof vests. Did y'all have any bulletproof vests in Vegas that day?
Yeah, that was a part of our daily wear. Bulletproof vest was a part of our makeup. We were ordered to wear that all the time.
So Tupac did have a bulletproof vest in Vegas that day?
I don't think he had. I don't think none of us wore jackets, bulletproof jackets in Vegas.
So y'all all was slipping that day?
It was slipping. Again, Vegas for us was like, Vegas was our getaway. We were comfortable there. That was Suge's second home. I think everybody was comfortable because of that. And at that time, that whole untouchable death row thing was kicking in. It felt like we were untouchable. Like we didn't have to really wear that in Vegas. In Vegas. Take your shirt off and kind of relax.
I heard a rumor, man, that Kadada Jones. I don't know where this rumor came from, but I heard a rumor that Kadada Jones told Tupac to wear his bulletproof vest that night after he got in the fight with Orlando. So, did you hear anything about that?
Nah, sound like something your girl tell you though, right?
The hospital scene. What was the hospital scene like? And who was some of the celebrities that came to visit Tupac while he was in the hospital?
The hospital scene was really hectic. As I said, from the time that walking in and seeing Suge walking out of the hospital and getting an opportunity to go in the room and see Pac in the position that he was in was really disheartening. Something painful to see. And on top of that, having all of these paparazzi type people trying to get into the building, sending decoys, kids, old people, having to do different things to secure the building, from the death threats that was coming, phone calls coming in on the pay phones in the hospital. We know what room he in, we're gonna finish what we started. And we decided to take a U-Haul truck. I hate to say I decided, because everybody want to take credit for so many things. But we talked about taking a U-Haul truck. They took the U-Haul truck and parked it along, so this is the room, the window, and we took that truck and pulled it right on the side of that so that the truck could basically block that window where Pac was. And every day, different people came to see him. And different celebrities. A lot of celebrities that wasn't even on the label. I can count how many people from the label came. Outside of the Outlaws.
Is it true that reporters and paparazzi was sending kids into the hospital to try to get an update or a story on Tupac?
Yes, it is very true.
Tell me about that.
Well, as I said, you would see old ladies sitting over talking on the phone like they on a payphone. And when security go over there, it wasn't actually an old lady. It's somebody dressed up like that old lady. Right.
Wow.
They were doing everything that they could to get that report.
Wow. So you had people dressing up like old people just to get in?
Sir, you sing all kinds of stuff. And it got to the point where the emergency room was ours. That side where he was on, that was ours.
And people were sending threats to Tupac while he was in the hospital. What was they saying?
Yeah, we're gonna finish what we started. We know that nigga at.
Was Tupac moving while he was in the hospital?
Times before, if you ever seen anybody's being put in sedation, so to say, or being put under, you kind of would see some reactions when that wear off a little bit. Him shaking his hands and legs and stuff. When people come into the room, you could say things like, I'm here, Pac, we here, and he would give a reaction, and the nurses would come in and put him under a little more.
So y'all would ask Tupac stuff, because you made a comment in your book, you said y'all would ask Tupac stuff and he would like move his feet and stuff?
He would move his feet and his hands. And move his feet in his hands. And I remember, I don't know if it's, I think it's when we would stand around and pray and sing. And I wouldn't sing much. His mother asked me to sing just the one time that I was in there, maybe the day or so before he died. And I sang, and while we were standing around the bed, his eyes was kind of like open and you could see it, but it didn't, his pupil didn't look like cloudy. Really, really cloudy. And you see tears that just roll from his eyes into his ears.
What was the condition Tupac was in? Because I heard his finger was shot off and...
They said he had lost a finger. I can't confirm that because he was wrapped up.
A lung, too?
He lost a part of his lung. He had so many tubes and stuff in him on the bed.
And it's actually videos online of the doctors. The doctors saying that Tupac, he was going to survive. Was you hearing that too?
Yeah, he was very, very hopeful.
Because there's videos online of the doctors doing interviews and
I would
saying
have,
Tupac
I
was
would
going
have
to survive.
thought, I would have thought so too. From when I went in there and seen him, I knew he's in bad shape. But
What exactly was you hearing about Tupac condition and him surviving?
they kept saying that he was doing better, like it's getting better. Don't worry. And I'm just so used to the hospital bullshit talk, like when nurses and doctors talk to you. I'm having different family members sick, but they gave you the whole, he'll be all right. We think everything is gonna be okay, and updates from him and being watched. He just didn't look like he was gonna die. He was in bad shape, but just wouldn't. And maybe that was just the denial part. But it's Tupac.
So, what was your reaction when it was announced that Tupac passed away?
I had left the hospital late that night, a little bit before break of day. And I went to the hotel, to the Luxor. I went to sleep. And I woke up to the homie banging on my door. He was banging on the door. And him and security. When they got in my room, he came in my room and he was jumping on the bed, hollering and crying. He gone, he gone, he gone. I jumped up. I had on shorts, t-shirt, and some socks. I jumped up, went straight down to the car, and rode to UMC Hospital. And when I pulled up, it was thousands and thousands of people outside with Tupac signs up and candles and grown men laying in the street crying and like memorializing him. And I finally made it to the door, and the nurse that I, would talk to her that, I seen, she opened that door and she was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I just fell on my knees, like crying. And I remember like one of the security guards throwing like a coat over me, picking me up and taking me away.
What happened to all Tupac jewelry he had while he was in Vegas?
I'm not quite sure what happened to all of the jewelry. I'm not quite sure, because I remember some of the rings that he had, a ring that he was really excited about he had just got.
What about the euthanasia chain?
Well, all of that was being held.
Okay.
I'm sure all that was being held at the morgue and stuff like that. But eventually it came to the house.
What was Suge Knight's reaction?
Lost.
Because he got shot, he got grazed in the head.
Got grazed.
And he got released from the hospital early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was his reaction? Like, what was the conversations with Suge Knight while all this was happening?
He really got quiet. He became quiet. He, to me, seemed like he became lost. Discoherent, like in a state of shock. I think he was shocked that this happened to him. And I think he was extra shocked. And he may have felt a lot of guilt when it came to Pop dying and being in the position that he was in. It was like a big brother seeing his little brother in the hospital. We out here playing and having all this fun, doing all this shit. And this happened. And you would see it, and it's like, Suge had a stare that was really different than the normal Suge that I was used to.
How do you feel about people that say Suge Knight had something to do with Tupac death?
That's just what rumors is, man. People make up all kinds of crazy shit. I just don't see a reason that Suge had to be in a car to have Pac done in. He didn't have to take him to Vegas. He didn't have to be in a car with him. We all know that he was powerful at that time. So I think that's pretty far-fetched.
How do you feel about people that say Puff Daddy has something to do with Tupac death, since he did have a connection with the Southside Crips?
We can say he had all those connections. Again, I don't think these guys thought this was going to get that serious.
Because was Biggie and Puffy getting protection from the Southside Crips?
They was. They had like some bounties out on death row chains. If you can bring like a death row chain.
How much?
$75,000 bounty on those chains.
So I mean, it's not far fetched.
It's not far-fetched.
You had bounties on the death row chains for $75K. Yeah. You was using the Southside Crips for protection.
So it's not far fetched, but again, I just don't think they knew it was gonna get that serious.
Okay, so the aftermath, man. What happened when y'all went back to LA after Tupac passed away?
Wow. Went back to LA. It's like the feds started attacking. Like you can wake up any day and see the feds in front of your house sitting in the car. Talking shit to you when you come out. The label started breaking up. It seemed like a lot of murders happened across the city. A lot of murders happened. A lot of police started. A lot of raids started going on. So we're gonna take this time and go over to the Bahamas, Compass Point, and now cut this Christmas album to just get away. We went there for about a month or so, and we was there. Suge gave me his chain, his death row chain. Hold this, you know what to do. Keep up with this. I never knew that the next day that he was going back to the States to turn himself in, because he had a warrant. And how I found out that he had a warrant. Kevin Lewis, rest in peace, the guy who was one of the main producers, like he managed the studio. He called us into a meeting and said that Suge had been locked up, arrested. And maybe about 20 minutes after our meeting, the Bahamian police came and told us that we had to leave the island immediately. And they rounded us up in vans, took us straight to the airport, made us leave all our shit, and put us out of the Bahamas. And we got back to the States, and Suge was locked up.
Y'all had a meeting after Tupac passed away, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I remember us. I wish I remember what hotel it was, because I always look for the hotel. Even when I moved to Vegas, I tried to pull in my mind what hotel it was, but it was so long ago you can't remember. But we went to this old hotel, and it was down in the Fremont area, the old part of Vegas. And this hotel, I remember it being more ran down than anything. It wasn't a hotel that we would stay in. But we left away from the strip, and we went in this room, and all of us sitting around, and Pac's mother and I think his aunt was in the room, and she's walking around the room, and you know, she's grieving, and she walking. She said, "Go ahead, Peacock, spread your colors." And she would walk away and say something else and walk back. And then that's when she kind of started talking about she's not going to do a service. She's going to have Pac cremated. And I turned and threw up on the floor. I threw up on the floor with her talking about Pac being cremated. Went out in the hallway. Should have told me, calm down. You know, we can't do nothing that's, you know, she the one that make the decision. Because we definitely was talking Suge, and they were definitely talking about putting him away like a king. But Miss Shakur decided to do the cremation.
So Tupac was cremated?
Yes, he was.
How long did it take Tupac to get cremated?
I think it was less than 5 days. Everybody was gone. Everybody. Afeni. Everybody was gone. Suge was still there. I was there. Some of our guys, we all were there still in Vegas. And Suge may have left actually a day or two before. And I stayed there back at the house. Delivery service came. And there were, I think they called them beta tapes. There was the beta tapes. Those were their like master tapes for videos. What they would give you to view the videos on. And that delivery came in, next they came with Tupac's. No, Pac actually was already there in a box. It's the box that everybody keep talking about. He was there in a cremation box, a white box. And he was on the table. I popped the beta tape in, and that was actually my first time getting an opportunity to see the I Ain't Mad at You video. And I remember really breaking down from it, being scared because this video was emulating people that had already went on. And the biggest part that kind of stuck out with me the most was Red Fox telling Pac that he had to earn his wings. You got a lot of work to do. You got to earn your wings or something like that. And I would go back in my mind from the day that we were shooting the video, how these lookalikes would walk past Pac and it would kind of freak them out. Like that just scared the shit out of me. And nigga looked just like Dizzy Gillespie. So to see all these people that was basically in this heaven scene, Pac is in this box. Basically the only person in the video alive is myself, because everybody else was dead. It was a scary moment.
What happened to the ashes?
Not quite sure. I remember taking the ashes back to Vegas. Los Angeles. I remember leaving Vegas, myself with the ashes, and going back.
Who was with you?
To L.A. I think Troy. Kurt Cobain could have been there, because those are my boys.
Okay.
And Whack Deuce, the homie. We probably were all together. And we took the ashes back. If I'm not mistaken, Suge or wherever, I think we went to the office, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the last time that I seen Pac's remains.
Why didn't Afeni want a funeral?
I know some of the things that she had said, that she said that she didn't want nobody looking over her baby, and Pac wouldn't have wanted somebody, if they would have heard him, that they're looking over him like that. And a little bit after that, I kind of blanked out. I didn't want to hear anything else. I was really disgusted by him being cremated and not having a service.
You made a comment in your book, and you said that none of the artists on Death Row came to visit Tupac while he was in the hospital.
None of them. And it made me sick to hear them say that, oh, they were there. None of them.
You know why?
Scared. And they should just say they were scared to come, versus lying saying that they were there. They were scared. It's kind of hard to tell people you're scared.